What do you mean?
Yeah, look, it's always great connecting with so many people around the world, and do you want to tell the viewers where you're at the moment, just to let you introduce that part of it, and tell us a little bit about the weather, and then I'll introduce you.
Okay. Well, I'm Dutch, and I've lived in Holland my whole life, almost my whole life. And I lived in Belgium for a while, but I decided to move back again.
Mm.
So it was a little bit of going back and forth, but now I live on the border. So that's a good solution. Yeah,
Is it bordering with Belgium? Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Near the border,
yeah,
like a kilometer
yeah.
the other way is Belgium. So
Mm, yeah.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
have
both.
an unusual language there, don't they? They speak French or Dutch or a bit of both, or nobody
In
knows.
Belgium, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mm.
And Belgium they speak French and this it's part French and part Dutch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flemish. They speak Flemish, so that's very different.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's always been an interesting place. I need to spend more time in Europe as soon as we get out of these lockdowns and we get some freedom again. Hey?
Yeah, that will be great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that will be great. Well,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me, and you have an amazing story. I really, uh, you know, looking forward to us talking about that today and talking about some of the work that you're doing, which is truly amazing. It's just a quick introduction for people that are listening. Nikki is a mother of two adult ladies, and she's been through an amazing experience, a life altering experience. She's been through addiction herself. She's tried many different approaches to deal with some of those things, and found that things like AA clinics and so forth weren't really as helpful as you would have liked, right? And they made you anxious, and some of the other opportunities to help with addiction maybe were too soft and ineffective. And having gone through that yourself and actually come out of that and figured out that there was a gap there of how to help people. You've now built your own coaching, therapy, counseling people with addiction, and helping them, become better citizens and abstinent in life, and with the addiction, so that they can actually run a successful life. And where you and I connected, I think last time in that conversation, was really a lot of that is to do with the brain and the psychology, and the understanding of behavior and so forth. So yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you about that and to explore that a little bit more today.
Good.
Yeah. So um, I guess that's really the place to start. We were touching on, there's so many different types of coaching. There's executive coaching, there's business coaching, there's life coaching, and you're using coaching in therapy. What's the common theme in all of that?
Mm. Authenticity, I think.
Mm,
I
in,
think that people are way too often trying to be something that they're not. And I think we live in a society where that is, well, it is almost expected of you to be different when you go to work, and when you're different when you're a parent, and you're different when you're whatever.
mm,
And I don't think that works. I mean, you can't be multiple people at the same time. So it gets a little bit of a schizophrenic life. And
mm,
yeah, and it can make you anxious as well, because who am I and what is expected of me? And I think it's very, very important. And I hope that Corona has helped us to learn that about
Mm.
ourselves and about society in a whole. That that we need to find mutual ground in ourselves to have a platform to live on, instead of just floating around.
Is that a shift that's happening as we move from the industrial age to the information age? Do you think that the industrial age left a little bit of that behind? You know, I digress a little bit. You know me, I just end up in different places. But you know, in the industrial age, you know, people were expected to just go to work, and you work and you just do whatever you're told. You didn't really
Mm.
ever question, who am I and why am I here, right?
Well, I think that, like thinking about life and why we are here and what our role is to play in life has been a discussion and questions of humanity forever, as long as human are on the planet. And what I do think is that, way back, we were all very like physical. Like our work was physical, and we had to do a lot of effort to accomplish something, and it took very long time. And we went from an age of really hard work physically to a lot of hard work in our brains. And I think that went way too quickly. And I think we went from an information society where it was very important to have knowledge and to know a lot. And and that is still what our schools are built on. And I think that nowadays it's way more important that you can bring something unique to the table, that
Okay.
you do have your vision. And because the world has become so much smaller, you can just learn all over the world. You can study at universities on the other side of the world, and you can tell your story to people like we are doing right now, to people on the other side of the world. So I think we're on the verge of a major shift in how we perceive life, how we perceive work, and humanity. I think that at least I hope, and that's what I'm trying to do with my coaching, is to get people to empower people to be who they are and to find out who they are, and
Mm.
to stand strong in that.
That's that's probably one of the hardest things, isn't it? You know, for people to, you know, discover really, you know, it's not just what other people tell me I'm good at. You're talking about going deeper than that, right?
Yeah, and I think that we need to. That is a key thing that I talk to clients about, is about the why are we so about security. Security is so important for us. We need to have a job, we need to have a house, and then we want the right house, and we want the right job, and we want the right amount of money, and it's tiring,
Mm,
and it's stressful, because all these things that we want and we think we need is we also have to take care of it all the
right.
time. So I think that we need to start by having the courage to letting things go to
Mm,
begin with, because
mm-hmm.
then you have the room to find out what you really want in life. And if there's this
Mm,
whole, thing of expectations and stuff and money,
mm,
well, it covers
mm.
up.
Well, I guess it also creates a huge fear of losing that or not
Yeah,
being able to keep it up, right? So
yeah.
what's it like for people who walk around with this huge fear all the time, right? And when things are
Yeah.
great, sure, you know, it's okay, but I know, you know, right now things are not great for a lot of people, right?
No, exactly. And I think that what Corona again is showing us right now, I think, is that we thought we had everything under control, that we could make our lives, that we could control external things. And well, that's the essence of life. You can't. You can control yourself, and you can control your emotions and your thoughts and your actions. And everything else you can't control. And sometimes the only thing you can control is the way you handle it. But first, you have to accept the things that you can't control.
Mm,
And that is very difficult for people. So I think that is why there is a lot of anxiety at this moment, because people lose their jobs, they lose their money, they lose
right.
their status, they lose their future, which is very frightening. Which is very frightening, of course.
At the same time, when someone, and I'm sure you've seen people that have gone through that where they've lost everything, um, and had to start from scratch. And is it true that some people know how to get back on their feet, and others maybe struggle with that? What's your experience with?
Yeah, I think it has to do with a lot of things. I think it's who you are in character, but it's also how resilient you have been brought up by your
Mm,
parents and by society nearest to you. Because if you really think that you are the center of the universe, then that feels like you're God and everything anything can happen and you can control everything. And the moment that it's not the case, well, then the whole basis of your life gets stopped. So I
mm,
think that it's yeah, it's very personal, but
yeah,
it's also some people do have a more flexible than others.
right.
So yeah, sometimes it's very difficult to get through that, through the anxiety and through
Mm.
the idea that they're losing
So,
control. Yeah.
so you said something that tweaked my interest a little bit, and you said that how you're brought up affects your resilience, and so we weren't born with resilience wired in our DNA, right? So can somebody learn that at, at a later life if they didn't have that?
Well, maybe I should have said it the other way around. I think that we de-learn resilience,
Oh, okay.
because I
Oh yeah.
think
Okay.
that our nature
Mm,
is um, well, we all have it. We can all be resilient because we are human beings and we're biological human beings, and our brain is in definition it is like a survival
right. The fight or flight.
mechanism.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, so I think that we have it, but I think that especially in rich countries,
Mm.
we just think that we don't need to, and we that life
Right.
is what we want it to be,
Yeah.
and that we're yeah.
It's always an interesting question. Sorry to throw that one at you. Resilience comes up quite a lot in many different areas. So I'm always curious
Mhm.
to explore that. You do make a very good point. In the latest generations, because money has been so easily accessible, many parents have spoiled their kids, and to what you said, they've de-learned resilience, because everything's been so easy, right? And
Yeah, I
so,
think so.
yeah, and so coming back to what you were saying earlier, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, the starting point is to rediscover who I am, or who am I, right? Is that the key element to recovering from anything, addiction, or you know, business failures, any of those kinds of things? Is that an important journey?
Yeah, I think so, but I don't think that you can do that immediately. First, you have to think about all the ideas you have of yourself and of how life should be, or the what you owe to society or to your parents or whatever.
Mm,
Because you go to school and then they say to you, well, you don't learn how to live in school. You learn how to adjust.
right.
So that is what they teach you. You need to adjust. You have to listen. You have to listen, and you have to do what we tell you to do. And so that's the first thing you learn when you go to school is to adjust and not think as a person and as a unique person. So yeah, when you are in your 40s and you've lived your whole life hearing and being, well, convinced that you are a bad person or you can't do this or you're not good enough or you need to have a lot of money or you need to have a lot of friends or whatever, it is very difficult to find out where you are and what you really need in basics, not in what kind of job do I want or what kind of house do I want, but what are my core beliefs in my life, my core values.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been listening in the car to I don't know, do you know Dr. Edith Eger? You ever heard of her?
Yeah, I heard the name before, but I'm not. It's not someone that I'm following. What does she say?
Well, she is a Hungarian Auschwitz survivor, and she was like the Walking Dead. They called the people who came from the camps. They called them the Walking Dead, and she was one of them. And she survived with her sister, and she was only like skin and bones when she came out. And when she's 93 right now,
Wow.
and I was in this live interview like 10 days ago or something with her, and it is amazing because she wrote her first book when she was 90.
Wow.
So yeah, and she talks about resilience
Mm,
and question. It's the same what Viktor Frankl talks about in his book. He's the survivor of Auschwitz as well. It's the question: why is one person has this resilience and the other person comes into Auschwitz and runs into the barbed wire to kill himself?
mm,
So why is there a difference,
right.
and what is the difference about?
Mm,
And that has a lot to do with trusting, having faith in life, faith in yourself, feeling a strong sense of character, and having the feeling that you have something to live for.
mm,
Not asking why am I alive, but what am I alive for?
mm,
And that is something that she mentions in her book as well, and it's very interesting to read or to listen to because I'm listening to it in the car. But it's amazing to hear someone who has endured all these horrible things for a year. I mean, she lost her mother the moment they got into Auschwitz. She went to the gas chambers immediately, and it is amazing
mm,
how she can reflect on life.
right.
Yeah, and it makes you humble.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, those stories are just always fascinating, amazing examples of resilience, and we're still trying to understand a lot of those things, right? And 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 often it's really trying to understand ourselves, but trying to understand others. I'm thinking about this as you're talking, so excuse me if I'm rambling a little bit here, but um, when someone doesn't know who they are, they really don't have any self control, I guess. They're being controlled by the world or by everything around them. Is that identity a core part of that? Does she talk about that?
Well, not really, because what she has been through is extremely courageous and extremely horrific, of course.
Mm.
But what I notice with people from my generation, who I'm almost 50, and people who are in the same age as I am, they haven't had all these bad experiences.
Right.
But we are a second generation of uh, war victims. We've been raised by people who have,
Right.
been
Yep.
in war. So there is something that you get from your parents about that.
Mm.
And I think that parents wanted to give their kids the best that they could give them, which of course you can imagine.
Mm.
But the problem is that when you don't have the feeling, when you grow up and you don't have the feeling that you have been recognized by who you are, and you haven't had the support in being a unique person, and you have parents who are very controlling, trying to have you be the ones they've never been, or they want to protect you from grief or whatever. It makes you, when you go through life, you get older, but you don't really evolve
Right.
because you missed some really
Mm.
important parts in your development.
Mm.
So life becomes like a coping mechanism in its whole. It's everything you do um, is trying to make it through the day and becoming the person other people want you to become.
Mm.
But
Right.
it is
Right.
very difficult to not live with a basis of trust in yourself and knowledge of yourself. So I think that philosophy, like psychology, is very important for us because we want to know who we are and we want to stigmatize people. You are this or you are that, and if you're not this, then you need to be that, and you have a disease if you don't, act the way we, expect you to behave.
Yeah.
So I think that it is really time for philosophy to come back,
Mm.
to self-reflect,
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself questions. Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Why are other people doing this? And where is my control? What is not in my control?
Mm-hmm.
Um, do I take responsibility for my own life or not? Or do I have the feeling that I am entitled to all different
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things from other people?
Right.
And
Yep.
the moment that you let go of that and you take control yourself,
Mm.
it is so extremely empowering.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. The the idea of questioning how we think, how we give meaning to things. Why
Yeah,
why do I respond this way? Well, I respond to this way because I have a belief and a value. And where did I get that belief and value? How did I give myself meaning to this situation that has become so powerful that it's a belief, right?
yeah,
Or a value, right? And
yeah,
as you know, I do a lot of work with meta programs, which is really,
yeah,
the programs that we've developed growing up. But it's being able to. I don't know if people are familiar with the term meta. Being able to look at your programs and analyze your programs, and then analyze how you analyze your programs, and analyze that. It gets you can get really carried away with the levels of meta that you can go to, but only human beings can do that.
yeah,
And while I digress a little bit from what we're talking about, the fact is, my generation, when I went to school, if I didn't do the right thing, I got the cane, right? It was back in
yeah,
those days, right? uh,
yeah,
and if I didn't get a good mark, then I might have gone home and got the cane again from mom and dad, or dad in that case, because that was the way society was. It was, they wanted you to do better. They wanted, but it was we were driven by the consequences. We weren't driven by the freedom of knowing who we are and what we want, right?
yeah. is fear. Is
Mm.
fear, and fear is a problem because fear is not real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it is always the trauma from what happened and the fear of what will happen in the future. And the problem is that if you do that your whole life, you will never really live because
Mm-hmm.
you never realize that you have a lot of control right now, and this is the only moment that you have. But because our parents always said, if you don't have good grades, or you do have good grades, you know, you'll be punished, or you can get your driver's license on our cost, or whatever, you know. So it has always been, you have to achieve something instead of, you know, achieve something in time instead of achieve something as being finding out who you are. And as kids, you don't have the time to find out who you are because your calendar is crammed with sports and all these,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. And we still
Mm-hmm.
don't take enough time, I think, to just reflect on ourselves and on,
Mm.
yeah, what we actually want, or what we are doing, and is it that important that we do all day?
Right.
And
And we
yeah, I
will.
think we can be a little
Mm.
bit more clear. Yeah.
And we wonder why kids graduate and they don't know what they want to do. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it was not their choice.
Mm.
No.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting. A few years ago, we took the AccuMatch system and we actually converted it for high school graduates, and we called it Academics. And it was really to help kids understand the programming in order to unpack that process of, okay, how did I get this? What do I really like? What do I really enjoy? What career do I have? Because one of the things that I experienced was I was good at electronics and physics and math and all these things. So my career path took me into engineering, but I didn't like engineering. I like working with people. But there wasn't an opportunity for me to actually go through that discovery and make that decision until later in life, you know. So very interesting. And I'm just looking at the time, so I think we've come back to what, correct me if I'm wrong, the full circle is really our brain, you know, whether it's addiction, business, leadership, family, parenting. If we don't start to really pay attention to how we think and where we got that, would you agree? Is that, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. Because, you know, there are a lot of people who say, stop thinking, you know, and just be an emotional person. And well, emotions are important, but I also do think that this mass that we have in our heads is so powerful. And if we don't learn how to cope with it, and how to control it,
Mm-hmm.
it just takes a walk, you know. And people say, well, just be an intuitive person, but your brain makes decisions like in nanoseconds.
Mm-hmm.
So the decision has already been made before there are even, you know. So it is very important that we learn to understand our own brains and to
Mm.
control it, because it's like murder machines almost, you know.
Yeah. We can get into another discussion because I have this fun conversation with some of the coaches sometimes. You know, is is emotion something that your brain has given you that you just sense through your body, or is it something that your body has these programs that then, you know, feed your brain, but you have no control over it? So it's a fascinating discussion, but
Yeah,
I'll leave
absolutely.
that. I'll leave that for another day. But it was really awesome. And just I like to wrap up. What would be the top 1 to 3 things that we can leave people from our conversation today?
Well, I think that if you are coaching, I think it is what I notice is that a lot of people who start coaching do not have a real vision, and they play it safe. So they do this standard coaching education or course or whatever, and they just copy what they learn. And I think that it is very important that you create your own vision and that you stand by that and you have the courage to stand for it, and that you educate yourself to make it into a solution instead of one of the coaches. Stand out if you can. And that takes courage because you can fail, and that will teach you so much.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the insights. I think we need to do a follow-up to this because there's so much more that you and I can talk about. I would really love to have you back and do some more diving into how we think and how we can improve ourselves. It's really fascinating and awesome. And congratulations. I think you're doing a super job with helping people. That's what coaching is all about, helping people.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Nikki. Take care, and I hope the rain stops.
It will one day.
Yeah, one day.
Thank you so much for having me.
See you later.